U.S. Senator Cory Gardner made headlines this week concerning his influence with President Donald Trump. Earlier this week, the president said that he would probably support Gardner's bill that would protect Colorado's marijuana industry from federal government interference. The bill aims to eliminate some of the obstacles faced by the industry, specifically its inability to work with federal banks. Penn, does Senator Cory Gardner have President Trump's ear?
I don't know if anybody keeps his ear more than a few minutes. To have Donald Trump say he probably supports something is probably not worth very much, because he probably supports a lot of things in this span of a day, sometimes diametrically opposed ideas. At least the bill is out there, the issues on the table. I don't think the president's going to get Jeff Sessions to go along with any of this. He's pretty clear about his antipathy towards the marijuana industry, regardless of what different states have done. We'll see what happens. I'm not at all optimistic that this bill is going to gain steam. I hope something like it does. We need to resolve this conflict between federal law and what the various states are doing, but I'm not convinced that the White House or this Attorney General are going to let it happen.
Ed, beyond the pot legislation, do you think this does anything pro or con for Cory Gardner's political capital here in Colorado?
Gardner's really doubled down recently on his fight to protect the state's ability to sell retail marijuana, which I think actually alienates some on the far right side of his base. But when you're Gardner, you're probably not worried about that. You're worried about, how do I get that same middle ground of people in the 2020 election that I got to win the 2014 election? And frankly, you're looking at a much tougher year in 2020. It's going to be, you're going to have a Republican president up for re-election, and if it's, assuming it's still Donald Trump, and I'll make that assumption for now, then you're looking at a president who right now is sitting with some pretty low numbers. So Gardner's got to do things to reach out beyond just the Republican base in that point. So I think it may help Gardner out more than it might hurt him. I think what should be interesting to see is this going to play in the governor's race? Because let's not forget, the most pro-marijuana gubernatorial candidate here is Congressman Jared Polis, who, by the way, just happens to be a House co-sponsor on this legislation. Does Polis bring this back up? Does he think that his outward support of legalized marijuana, of regulating the industry and bringing it into a more efficient state of operation, could actually get him the voters he needs to clear the primary? I will be curious to see if this comes up more in the coming weeks in this primary.
Patty, is Cory Gardner the new poster child of support for the marijuana industry in Colorado?
There's several poster children for that. First of all, last Friday, Polis was canvassing on Broadsterdam, down on South Broadway, and they specifically were getting out the vote at dispensaries or people who were near them. So Polis has identified that as a group. If you can bring them out, and I would say those are late voters, if you can bring out the pot voters, you will definitely do better. What a great photo op for Cory Gardner, though, which we could see again in 2020 if he's got competition. Elizabeth Warren and Cory Gardner together co-sponsoring. And the fact that when he was on his way to the G7 summit, Donald Trump talked about how he would probably pass this. I think that overcomes anything Jeff Sessions may or may not feel or say. He was at the Western Conservative Summit, and the word marijuana did not pass his lips. Presumably, marijuana didn't either.
Presumably. David, wrap it up for us.
In a way, I mean, Gardner's the guy who faced down Jeff Sessions before and ultimately won that contest. And I think, in a way, it's helpful for the Colorado and other states, both consumers and businesses, and the principle of states' rights, that Sessions' standing is somewhat tenuous, so he does not have a bunch of extra political capital to burn by cracking down hard on states' rights. And I'd say good for Senator Gardner and Senator Warren. Too often people only respect states' rights when it advances the policy that they're in favor of. Gardner voted against, he was a very clear opponent of the re-legalization initiative, but here he is defending Colorado states' rights, and he has already a tremendous accomplishment in getting the president to endorse it, even though it's who knows if that'll stick. That still moves things down, and I think it makes it easier for undecided Republicans to do what's politically popular anyway and support that.